welcome to the Charlie Chats Footy podcast with me, Charlie Casson. Thank you very much for listening to this. Once again, I appreciate the support. It's the penultimate episode. It's episode 14. It's a little bonus episode for you this weekend. I hope you all enjoyed Jacob Scipio's on Friday. If you haven't already, go check it out on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. But today, I thought I'd put out another little episode for you. And it is with a musician, the first musician I've had on the podcast. He's a great DJ, amazing producer. His name is Pearce. Ben had a huge hit in the summer of 2013 with What I Might Do that done absolute numbers. But my favourite thing of Ben, my favourite piece of music, is his hour-long Mixmag disco set at Smirnoff House. It's on YouTube. You can go check it out. It's quality. If you're going on a night out anytime soon, whack it on while you're getting ready because it is big. Ben is a Mancunian, and he chose Man United despite being taken to Main Road on a number of occasions with his granddad when he was a little boy. But unfortunately, his granddad was unable to convert him to the blue of Manchester City. I usually tell you in the intro what we're going to chat about, but I'm not going to tell you what we chat about this week. I know I usually do in the intro, but there's just a lot. And we went off on a few tangents and, you know, we spoke about a load of different stuff, which was fucking great. Ben is a proper sound guy, really honest and really open, and it was amazing to have him on. You're going to love it. Have a class day, whatever you're doing. This is episode 14 of the Charlie Chats Footy podcast with Ben Pearce. Enjoy. Did you get fucked over from festivals this summer?
No, I didn't have that much booked in, but obviously I would have. Just festivals have been obviously cancelled, clubs have been cancelled, and it might come back a bit towards the end of the year, but who knows? So it's a bit strange.
Mate, speaking of festivals and Bury, right, I went to, it was 2014, went Park Life in Heaton Park, and I was staying in Salford at my mate's house. It was near a co-op. I just remember there being a co-op near the house. And we walked back from Heaton Park towards Salford, and we got lost in Bury. Is that near Heaton Park, Bury?
No. Well, it's not like you have to go further.
Yeah, I think that was the whole thing. We went
it's a hell of a walk.
We went the wrong way. We was obviously all like out off it, and we just ended up going the wrong way. And
ended up in Bury.
Ended up like on the outskirts of Bury.
I played a festival in Bury when I was like 18 under a different name.
Your old DJ name?
Yeah, well, me and my mate used to DJ together before I released stuff. So we were playing like bass music and like dubstep and stuff. So it was, and it was sponsored by Subway and Monster Energy drinks. And I remember eating 2 footlongs and drinking like 6 Monsters, and I felt ill. Yeah, it was not a fantastic combo, to be honest.
How old were you when you sort of started to get into following football?
Like very young. Like I never remember being because my dad's a Southampton fan, but not very. He follows it, but not. You don't watch all the games, and we never had Sky growing up. So the sort of early days of football consisted of teletext and having a United shirt. I remember I had the grey one that they decommissioned, which was fun.
What year would that have been?
I can't remember. Was it 96 or something? I can't remember the year. See, I'm bad with this is what I struggle with memory-wise all the time, is getting stuff like that right. So I always sound like an idiot. But
so how old are you then? When were you born?
I'm 30, so 1989. 31 this year. I never had a chance to go. I can't even remember the first time I went, and that's bad. I was trying to think of it because of obviously coming on here. But my granddad, who lives down the road from here, he's still a massive City fan, like season ticket holder, even from Main Road, and he used to take me to Main Road. And all my mates in school used to rip piss at me because I was going to watching City. But that was like Paul Dickov and like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Like, honestly, and that was like... And then that's the most football matches I've been to. I've obviously been to Old Trafford a lot since I've been able to. But when I was a kid, it was that. And then a bit later on in life, when I was playing football more, my mate's dad used to be an Oldham fan, so he used to go Oldham Athletic and watch that, which was kind of a nice experience, I think.
So how comes you didn't get... If you went to Main Road with your granddad, how did you not get hooked into City?
Yeah, he was trying. He kept buying me shirts, and I wore them because I didn't have many football shirts. So I was like, yeah, if I'm playing in it, I'll wear it. Yeah, so he definitely did try, but I think he realised after a while. My auntie was a still a strong red. So she was always like having a go at him.
But the majority of your mates like all were United when you were younger.
It was very mixed. I remember it being very mixed and sort of half and half. I guess, I mean, that's sort of proportionate, if it makes sense, the banter aside. But it was South Manchester, so it was Sale and obviously near Stretford, so it was probably a bit more United than anything else. But a lot of my mates when I was growing up weren't into football at all, because I was very into rock music and a bit of a mosher, so I played football, and obviously everyone I played football with weren't the same group I hang around with, if you know what I mean. There was only a very small section of people up until my 20s that also hung out, and we went to rock clubs and gigs and whatever, and then we'd also watch the football. Like, we'd have to go to different pubs to watch the footy.
It was a mad time in the 90s in Manchester for music and football though, wasn't it? With like Oasis and all that.
Of course, yeah. And again, like growing up with rock music, it was something that maybe passed me by a bit. But yeah, Manchester's amazing for for lots of reasons.
I would have loved to have because I'm born in 94, but I would have loved to have been like growing up as a, like an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old in the 90s in Manchester. Like, it would have just been the most amazing experience.
I think so, if you're a United fan anyway.
Yeah, not for City
fan, maybe not enjoying it so much, but yeah, that would have been incredible. Like, yeah, I mean, I missed out on that as well, but maybe still felt it a little bit through sort of people's older brothers, or you sort of got that passed on energy that you get. You know what I mean? When something's happening and something's iconic, you hear it through proxy, through your mate's older brother or your mate's dad who's a bit younger and still into all that stuff. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think it's still sunk in some way, like almost on a subconscious level. So when I look back and see these kind of highlight reels and all these kind of references to that time, it drives an emotion in me, but it's not a first-hand one because I was not very involved at the age of like between 6 and 10.
Obviously, like over the last decade or whatever, you've been doing shows and stuff. Has there ever been a gig that you remember where you've missed a massive game, like whether it be United or England or whatever, just like a game you're like, oh, I wish I was watching this?
Yeah, all the time. especially when in Australia and places. So the best example was when England were playing Sweden.
Oh, in the quarter-final.
Yeah. So I've got two videos. One was because we watched the first half upstairs, and then I had to go and play. It was in Sydney at Chinese Laundry. My mate came with me. So we watched first half upstairs. He's from Stoke, so we were obviously both buzzing. And I think I can't remember exactly. Was it 0-0 in the first half or something? And then we went downstairs, and because luckily he lives in Australia, so he had a phone with connection, and we got the club Wi-Fi, and we put the phone up in the booth. So I've got video of me DJing to like this big cave full of people with the match up, and of me just like looking at it like that. And then we scored, we won, and I played It's Coming Home, the Badil and Skinner thing at the end. And because Sydney's got and that club especially has got a lot of English people in it, it's like a very English sort of people on holiday venue. As it is in a lot of Australia, there's a lot of people that have moved there and support them. And I think by proxy, a lot of Australians kind of support England anyway. In some ways, not in cricket, but in football maybe. I don't know. Anyway, everyone went nuts. And it's sort of at a really good tempo, so I could mix it in with the sort of cheering coming over the end of the other track. And it was like, everyone was like, what the fuck? And I've got a video of them all singing and going nuts to it, which is quite funny.
Oh my God, mate. You'll have to send me that if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course.
That sounds absolutely mental.
Yeah, so that's the worst one. I think on this... No, that wasn't. It was a different tour. And I'm trying... Oh, wait. No, it must have been a different tour. Couldn't have been the same tour. There was one where I had been to watch the game before the match. Sorry, that's bad. Been to watch the match before the club, and I bought my United shirt. I brought my United shirt out there for some reason, and I think we lost. And I can't remember who it was against because it's a very blurred. All these memories, like especially from clubs, sort of roll into one. And I remember having to wear the United shirt to the club, and someone coming up and saying, "You fucking lost, didn't you?" I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, why are you wearing the shirt? I was like, well, I was already out and the bar was around the corner and the hotel's miles away. So this is a bit of a cathartic experience. But yeah, the one in Sydney is absolutely the best because that was, imagine if we'd lost, it would have been sort of, because you could just carry on with the night and not reference it. I don't think anyone knew I was watching it because it was quite a closed booth. I won't have it up on the screen or anything.
So you decided mid-set that you're going to whack on It's Coming Home?
Oh, I had it on my USB. I put it on my USB before I even went on tour. I was like, fucking damn right. Because if we win, if we get through to the final or something and I'm playing it. Like, fuck it. Because I'm even not a very staunch England supporter. I support United way more than I support England.
Yeah.
I'll get behind it, of course, but I'm not a sort of diehard fan. I don't get pissed off when we lose. It'll be a bit disappointing, but it's not the same feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe something to do with, I don't even know. It's strange. I remember, obviously, the big competitions. I remember Euro 96. I was at Euro 96, for example. I always remember the big competitions when I was growing up and being a lot more excited then. And then since then, and I think it's got something to do with just like sort of nationalism in a way. And I think it's been associated ways with the flag and stuff of people. And that's not the entire reason. I just get this feeling that clubs are you pick your club, don't you? Even though you're born there. But for some reason, I don't know, it's faded over the years, and that's probably just because we've been shit. If we've been winning tournaments and winning World Cups and stuff, then it might have been a bit stronger.
It's an interesting topic because I actually don't think I've ever met anyone who says country over club. It's really interesting. I don't know what it is. It's quite you can't really put your finger on it because I'm definitely club over country.
Yeah, but I think in other countries it would be country over club, or at least sort of level, if you know what I mean. I think we've got, and I think maybe it's to do with the culture, and it's maybe to do with, and you see these videos abroad of the England fans, and every football fans when they go abroad are a bit nuts, and when football fans come here to play us, they're the same, and I think everyone has that, but I think there's that association with that sort of hooligan side, which is a bit disappointing, and I think people don't want to associate themselves a little bit. And I think with the flag as well, flags are always associated with, or usually associated with nationalism. It's just a very interesting one, but absolutely, I'll watch the games and get excited if we win. So
you'd rather United win the Prem next year than England win the Euros?
Yeah, definitely. I think most people would say that though, because that's the club. But also at the same time, I want the players that are playing for my club to go in. And it's also a very weird one with you then having to change these players that you've maybe, hate's a strong word, but you play for your rivals, don't you? But then you've got to suddenly switch and cheer them on. Liverpool fans have got to cheer on Rashford, who's been mank all of his life, and he knows how much he's never, obviously because players never come out and say these things, but you can tell they don't there's a rivalry still.
I think
they're all mates. It's a very weird,
weird
thing for a fan to just suddenly switch on and cheer on a player from another team.
I think what you mentioned, Rashford, is really interesting. I think everything he's done over lockdown with his letters to the government and stuff, I think he's going to be hard for fans to dislike him now. I've seen loads of Liverpool fans tweet about how much they respect him and they'll clap him when he comes to Anfield and stuff. I don't know how long that will last, but I mean, just because you mentioned him, it's definitely special what he's done, isn't it?
Well, I thought it was going to come up because it's such an amazing story, and sad that he had to get involved, but it's obviously personal to him. And he grew up not far from when I grew up, really. And yeah, it's amazing. Like as you said, it's going to be difficult, and I think everyone's got their players from the other clubs that you like more than others, and it's usually the ones that are less aggy. And he's quite a calm player. As a forward, I think you're not gonna rile people up too much unless you're quite cocky and sort of a Zlatan type. I'm sure he would rile up the opposition fans. But yeah, I mean, he's got his doctorate, but he deserves an OBE for what he's done. It's been amazing to take that time out of your career, and he's not even a career at that point. He was in lockdown, so he didn't have anything to do. But I'm sure he would have done it anyway.
At that age as well,
22.
Yeah, he's 23 in October, I think. I mean, to have that mature head on you, I just think back to, when was it, 2015? When he came on the scene and he scored against City and
scored in every single debut, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
For club and country, scored in Europa League, Premier League, FA Cup, International. I remember that, yeah, because I remember when he came on, it was because Martial got injured in the warm-up or something. And he came on and scored, and then he just kept scoring.
Against City?
That was against Midtjylland or something.
Oh, yes, in Europa League, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the City one. I don't know if it was his debut, but the City one, I think he just made Otamendi just trip over his legs.
Yeah, he just sat him down, yeah.
Yeah. But thinking back to that, that doesn't seem that long ago, to think how far he's come as a footballer and subsequently as like a person and a human being as well.
And I think not knowing too much about it, because not saying I'm busy with other things, but as much as I follow the game, not knowing as much about it as, say, the United bloggers or the United YouTubers would know. I think the club in itself is very, very good for that with education. And I saw the letter that they've written out to all the youngsters, because it was supposed to be half term. And they wrote this letter out to all the academy players saying, right, I know you've been all doing your work and whatever and practicing, but this week we want you to all to stay up late, play video games, eat whatever you want, eat sweets, just have fun, And these are 14, 13-year-old kids that are basically giving up their childhood to try and pursue a career because it's tough.
Yeah.
And I think our club, and I know probably a lot of clubs are good at it as well, and I think every club will have some degree of it. But I think that maybe factors into just this mature approach. But I think obviously he's taken it a step further.
Well, he has. He's taken it to the next level. I think it doesn't seem to have affected his game as of yet.
No, not really. I don't think so, and I don't think it will. I think he's got a good sort of foundation, and he seems very relaxed. He's calm.
What do you think of the other young boy coming through, Greenwood?
I mean, I've been watching highlights of him and compilation videos, and there's been the sort of Stephen Alson, who's the sort of big one, all the full-time Devils lot, the YouTubers that I watch a lot of. I've been raving about him for years, since he's 15, netting hat-tricks like it was nothing. He's a scarily. I think we're not because I think obviously from the outside looking in, when you're other fans, when a team hypes up a kid or when fans hype up a kid, your instant reaction is, oh, they're just getting ahead of themselves.
Yeah.
Settle down. Let's see what he does when he plays against men. And he's come in and he's on 15, 16 goals now already.
He's unbelievable.
He just he scores for fun. He doesn't. It's actually shocking when he misses a chance.
Yeah.
he's got something like 12% on his weaker foot shot accuracy, a goal, per goal. And I think it's something closer to 17% for his stronger foot. And to put it in perspective, I think Ibrahimovic had something like 12% when he played at United, and he's one of the most prolific finishers ever to play the game. And I know he's only, and I know maybe you can skew that and say he's played some sort of less games and he's played against smaller teams and whatever, and maybe come on when we're already winning sometimes. But there's no denying he's a talent, and he just seems calm. He seems when kids come in and they run around like a kid essentially, but he just seems like I'm relaxed, I'm fine, I'm doing this. And no, I think there's no pressure on him because he's not the main man. He's not a kid in a team. He's not expected to score.
Yeah.
So I think there's the world at his feet now, and I think if he keeps improving, he might be one of the best prospects we've got. And also for as you mentioned in England before, I think England front three of Greenwood, Sancho, and Rashford will be and Sterling and Kane all up in there. It'll be in a year or two.
The thing with Greenwood, I've not seen him score a goal that wasn't a devastating finish. They're always just so powerful and ruthless, and he just puts everything into it, and it's so accurate at the same time. Yeah.
Just always in the corner, isn't it? And he scored so many goals from. There's only a couple of players that have scored more outside the box than him this season in the Premier League. It's crazy.
If Sancho as well manages to come to United, that's a scary front line as well next year. Yeah, well,
Bellingham's gone now. I see the Borussia Dortmund the video they did.
Yeah.
The Hey Jude one. That's just it's almost that bad that it's good. You know what I mean? I don't think there's many clubs that could get away with that, but I think they're one of them. And I think that's looking likely, but we'll see. I think it massively depends on whether we get top four. He's probably waiting for that, I imagine.
Yeah, well, that moves us on nicely, actually, to what I wanted to touch on next.
Oh, God, here we go. I don't want to jinx it now. I can't.
It's in your pen. It's in your hands now. It's in your hands. What do you think is going to happen? Because I know Chelsea have got to go to Wolves as well on the last day.
And haven't they got Liverpool?
Yeah, they got Liverpool tomorrow.
But Liverpool have bottled it. They've been the worst champions ever. Sorry, I had to get Liverpool again.
So I've actually had a look at the table. There's a chance that if Leicester win their next game and United beat West Ham and Chelsea lose to Liverpool, then United and Leicester can actually draw. And if Chelsea lose to Wolves, United and Leicester both get it and Chelsea come fifth. So it's,
It's tight, isn't it? It's going to be interesting. And like Sky are dripping. Sky love themselves right now because they love a tight finish. And I think given the fact that Liverpool was so dead on to win the league, I'll put that over there actually. I think given Liverpool was so far in front, it potentially had the weird sort of anticlimactic end to the season. Obviously, with lockdown happening and it coming back in a strange way, but at least they've got a storyline and narratives to talk about now. I think even at the bottom, it's quite tight as well. So I think from a neutral and even from any football fan's point of view, it's going to be a fun couple of weeks or a week now. Isn't it? It's not even a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Sunday. It's massive because it's like you said about Sancho waiting and all this stuff. It's huge for clubs because it potentially changes who comes in. I want to say in the summer, but it's not. It's going to be in September.
I don't even know how it's going to work. I have no idea how it's going to work. They've not announced it yet, have they? I imagine they're probably going to announce it.
Yeah, they're not announced it. I think they mentioned something like it's going to shut end of October. They mentioned it. I don't know if it's been 100% confirmed, but I definitely saw Sky tweet something about October 31st, I think it was.
Like deadline day halfway into the season almost. Jeez.
That's the thing as well with Liverpool winning the league, and it's like no one's ever won it earlier, but no one's ever won it this late on in the year.
It's all sorts of mad stuff. Yeah, I think obviously as a fan we want to go out and just secure it ourselves. We don't want to wait for. I think Wolves wouldn't beat Chelsea if they were in that sort of form. They look brilliant at the moment, and Sunday was devastating to watch. Obviously, as a fan, but also I think that if you had said to me before the game, you're going to lose, but you'll get top four, I'd take that because I think top four is the bigger prize, and I think that's why we rotated the team. Somebody argued with my mates about this as well because I expected us to play the 3-5-2.
Yeah,
because that's what worked the last 3 times we've beaten them this season. Worked against City. Liverpool struggled against it as well. So I think it was reasonable to assume, but I think that extra 48 hours of rest really hurt us. And we just looked tired. We just looked off the pace from the start, and they played brilliantly, and you could hear. I watched the first half because I was coming home. I watched the first half on my headphones on my phone, and I could hear Lampard really clearly, which I might watch all the next couple of games like that actually, instead of watching it sort of on the speaker, because I could hear Lampard talking to them, like shouting, press, cut them down, but double up. And it was really interesting to see how they isolated people and they put a lot of pressure on the midfield. And I think the fact that Pogba didn't play, he's the one that can provide that bit of magic in the midfield to turn someone, do a bit of something mad and play a ball forward, pick the pass. The fact that he wasn't on from the start, I made sense because I think we're throwing everything at West Ham on Wednesday. I think that's the right decision. Even though, obviously, in the press, Ollie wouldn't admit to that because he's the type of manager that keeps his cards to his chest, and he's like with De Gea, I think he'll be fuming at him, but I don't think he's going to publicly out him in the press like Mourinho used to do because it'd ruin him as a confidence for the next couple of games. So yeah, I'm not as devastated as I would have been from a semi-final loss. It was a difficult game to watch because it was so. But I sort of expected that. I expected Chelsea to come out and batter us because Southampton had done it a couple of weeks before and got a result. Pressed us high and stopped Matic and Maguire from playing out through the back and dictating which side we were going to press on. And we just couldn't get Bruno high enough up the pitch.
What do you think of Maguire?
He's looked a lot better since lockdown. When he got the armband, he really started to look a lot more just secure. And then the last couple of games, he's sort of been off. He's made a few mistakes. He had that collision with Bailly that maybe looked like he took a knock from that, but wanted to keep playing because we didn't have any options on the bench. Bailly obviously had to go off, and I think he's okay from what I've seen. So hopefully,
yeah, he did a tweet.
Did he? That looked nasty. And obviously, I think that obviously disrupted the play. And I hate to bring it up because I don't want to be that kind of person, but there was 21 fouls and no yellow cards from Chelsea players, which is ridiculous. And then Pogba got the only yellow card, and I think the Martial one should have been at least given as a free kick because the way VAR works, he kicked his foot, and I don't know. It's nitpicking now, isn't it? And like, they were the better team, and our goalkeeper made a catastrophic error. I'd say the first one wasn't catastrophic. It was bad, but it was close to the goal. It was difficult. The second one, when we're 1-0 down just out of half time, was awful. Yeah. Awful to see, and he's got something about him, and I think it's since the World Cup, he's just not had that composure, and I don't know whether it's a mental thing or whatever. But saying that, he then pulled off like 2 or 3 fantastic saves that maybe no other keeper in the world could do. Top corner, he did a few against, I think it was Brighton, wasn't it? When it there's been a few games recently he's done some absolutely incredible saves because he can do them. So it's such a difficult decision now.
Yeah, did you like, if you were Ollie, would you drop him for the next game?
I don't know, because I think it's about man management, isn't it? That dropping him might ruin his confidence even more. And like, we've also got the awkward decision of he's the highest paid goalkeeper in the world. Who's going to pay his wages? Probably only Real Madrid, and they've got someone that's Courtois actually doing really well. Just won the league, and obviously given his recent errors being widely publicised, a lot of teams maybe wouldn't take the risk, especially for the money he's on. So I think it's a very difficult decision that's going to come up with Henderson knocking at the door. Romero is like the best second keeper in the world, but he doesn't play that often. I think maybe they should have gone with Romero, but I don't think Romero would have saved a couple of the chances that De Gea did save. So it's I'm glad I'm not Ollie at the moment. I'll say that. But I think a lot of people overreact because we went 19 games unbeaten since January, beat City, beat Chelsea in that time, played best football, barely conceded much, scored a lot of goals, 4 games in a row, 3 goals or more, which is the first time in the Premier League. And yeah, we were tired and didn't turn up and didn't get ahead in the game, and it was disappointing. But at the end of the day, if we get top 4, and then who knows what will happen with Europa, because that's going to be mad as well. It's every 3 days or something the games are.
It's just bonkers.
And you've got to think that the level these players play at. Bruno's running 12 kilometers a game, pretty much every game. And like, no one could do that every 3 days.
Yeah.
Well, maybe some runners can, but there's also the mental fitness and the tactics and everything that go into it. So it's going to be a very interesting one. And I think out of lockdown with the games we've had and how quickly they've had, he's done amazing. And it was a mistake maybe to rotate. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, because you can't say otherwise. Because I think Chelsea were very aggressive. They were sort of going for those big tackles, kicking Bruno Fernandes in the right in the dick, which looked painful. But they were definitely going out, disrupting the play, getting in there, getting physical, making it hard for us to play, because that's how we've been doing, how we've been playing so well recently is getting those people on the ball. And it was a very physical game, and obviously the physicality didn't go our way, and Bailly got twatted on the head a couple of times, and that's sort of the way it is. But I'm not fussed. I'm telling myself I'm not fussed. I'm in denial. I was gutted on Sunday, and then I knew I had to record this, and it's like the timing of it, man. I was all ready to just be coming on here and breezing about, gloating, and that's the easiest final in the world, isn't it, against Arsenal? Come on.
Do you reckon that's Chelsea's, do you think?
Like, easily. I'd be so surprised if Arsenal did that.
I was surprised they beat City, though. Yeah,
but I think City maybe have that thing now where they're... But then you can't say that because they'd be chasing trophies because they've come second.
Yeah,
true. I was surprised. I didn't watch the game. I saw the couple of the goals, which were brilliant. So it might be interesting to watch. But I think Chelsea will be fired up from that now, and they'll probably just do more of the same and just press.
Yeah.
Just because Arsenal's defence will melt. If you thought Maguire melted, wait until Mustafi's got that sort of pressure.
Yeah. I'd be interested to ask Frank Lampard if he'd rather win the FA Cup or get fourth. It'd be interesting.
I'd be interested to ask Ollie.
Yeah, true.
I think any manager worth their salt wouldn't answer. They'd be like, we're going for both. But I think secretly, top 4 is more important. But then again, Chelsea have already got their players. They've already got Ziyech and Werner. Werner's already agreed, isn't it?
Werner's signed.
So they're going to be scary next season.
That Werner's ridiculous. He's so clinical.
Well, he's got that hasn't he got a hearing condition that if it's a bit loud, if it's too loud in the stadium, it gives him a sort of headache and he has to go off.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw that. So I'm just thinking of how different maybe the Bundesliga is to the only, because he had to go off at Dortmund, I think, because it was loud.
He'll be all right starting at the Emirates.
Yeah, and at the Etihad.
Yeah.
But are you thinking about going to Anfield or somewhere where it's people are close to the pitch? And I think maybe because clubs know that, they might get up the noise a bit when Chelsea come. But I'm not sure if that's even true. I think I've read it some places, but yeah, it's maybe a weird one to chuck out on a podcast because you might get a lot of comments going, "Oh no, you don't know what he's talking about." But it's all rumours, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't. It's like football journalism. Just throw a dart at the board and go, he's going there.
Oh, it's so true. So true. Just slightly, I want to move away from football really quickly.
Of course.
I've been on your Instagram, right? You're a little bit of a chef.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? And like, how were you doing that before music, or was it a transition thing, or do you just like doing it as a hobby, or what's the crack?
It started out as a hobby. And obviously, because the amount I started traveling, I got really into. Well, I obviously got to eat in a lot of places that I wouldn't have either eaten before, and discovered new cuisines. And I'm very much when I'm traveling, I always want to eat local food and try new things. And obviously got taken to a lot of amazing restaurants, and then came back and was like, when you're self-employed and you're in the studio, you maybe got a bit more time. And it was close and stuff, so I had the time to sort of get into it and want to eat amazing food, and eat better food, basically. And I think it's very similar to music in a way, because it's balancing and it's sort of creating something and cooking for people. And I started doing these supper clubs where people came around and just had sort of a few courses, 4, 5, 6, whatever courses. You get the same feeling from it, I find. I've done a stage in my mate's restaurant, The Frog, in London, which was awesome and such an experience, because it very much during service you had the same feeling of sort of being on stage, because it was important. You're delivering something to people to make them happy. And then I did a sort of course to get sort of professionally certified, do all the allergy training and everything, and a bit of sort of brushing up on skills. Which I felt really well prepared for, weirdly, but it's mostly self-taught. Wow. And I've done like one event in London at the Ace Hotel, which went really well. It was like a brunch, like 3-course menu. And then, so my idea for the whole thing was to pair music with food. So every course at that had a different soundtrack to it, which was produced by me. It was completely one-off, just for the brunch. And actually that was a bit different than my initial vision of it, because it was a brunch and everyone was getting a bit pissed. It was a bit more like dancey, sort of had beats to it.
So you made a different track for each course? Yeah,
and that just played in the background. It was like 15 minutes long. Oh, quite loopy, because it was the first one, and I think that I was testing the water with it a little bit, but everyone said they really enjoyed it, and actually made sense with the music, because it sort of lifted towards the end with the dessert and the champagne and the cocktails that came out. It was a bit more uplifting, so it sort of lifted everyone towards the end of the meal. And I think there's a lot to be said for the audio in restaurants, that you're used to sort of either quiet or just some whatever random music they put on. But I think the idea of it being curated to what my idea was, to eventually get other producers in to taste the whole menu or come up with a menu with them. And then they go away and make a whole soundtrack for the evening, produce things that they think complements it. So if it was a very light starter, for example, the music would be quite light, and then the plates get taken away and the music takes a deeper turn.
That's fucking wicked, man.
Yeah, I think there's definitely an idea there, and it'll probably get nicked off me because I've talked about it in public quite a lot. But I just want to see it happen, because I think it's very interesting.
So would you have an idea to like open your own place where that was it? You go there and you have a meal with the music?
I think I was toying with the idea for a long time, but I think it became across quite pretentious, because people want to chat and stuff. I would rather do one-off events where I think I've had this idea in my head for about 4 years and never got around to it, just because I'm a procrastinating little idiot. And I'm just very unsure of myself and not confident in myself at all, and it's a lot of self-doubt, and so it stops me sort of going and doing things in maybe the way that I should. But I just think there's interesting legs there, that because people, it's another sense that isn't getting dealt with in restaurants as much. And I think that there's amazing sort of possibilities for it, but we'll see. I think I was just about to maybe start doing a couple more things I had planned in with a couple of restaurants before lockdown. And I also had a YouTube series planned where I sort of took artists out around London and just eat in all their favorite places and chat. So
That's fucking class.
which I'll do eventually because I think it's really important. And I just want to hit, because the best thing like, is when artists get to London, for example, for a gig, like, what do you go and do? Like, do you go get ramen, or do you go to you got a favorite burger joint, or do you go salt beef bagel, which obviously is amazing. Anything like, and it was completely without any sort of pretension. It wasn't about eating in the best restaurants. It was like, no, if you go to the hotel that you go to, what do you order for room service? And we'll order it and just chat in the room and just chat about everything, but also eating the food that you would eat if you're on tour.
Yeah.
I think there's a very interesting thing that food connects so many people because everyone has to eat, you know what I mean?
100%. It's like football.
Exactly. And it's sort of a similar thing, isn't it? It's something that you don't think about when you think of creative industries. You wouldn't think about their eating habits, much like you wouldn't think about what football they watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's sort of similar.
It's such an interesting
spin-off podcast.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, but you should get on Ben Chat's food.
Ben Chat's food, yeah. I might nick it off you. I have to pay you a fee.
No, mate, you've definitely got something there, 100%. I'd love to see that. I'd love to watch something like that.
Well, there's like Munchies and that, which is Vice's thing, where Action Bronson goes around and eats a load of food and chats to people. And I'm not trying to say it's a revolutionary idea, but there's the programs on Netflix are sort of David Chang stuff, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, where they go out and talk about whatever. So it's sort of like a live podcast, but over the sort of medium of food. That was the idea. And I'm not trying to say it's nothing revolutionary. It's just a chat, and it's just because it's two of my and the other thing was gaming, which is I'm a massive part of my life, and I'm trying to link these three things together: gaming, music, and food. If I can link those together and keep doing something in all of them, streaming games with people, and which I will get around to at some point. I've been meaning to do that as well for a long time. And then food as well, doing food events with music and stuff. So it's this little triangle of things that I'm trying to get aligned in my life, which I think will come together in a nice way.
I've seen you bashing out the COD on Twitter. I saw you got a little 62 kills the other day or something, didn't you? In the team deathmatch.
That's domination or something.
Was it domination? Do you just do multiplayer, or do you do Verdansk as well?
I haven't. First time I played Warzone was in a couple of months. Was the other night with and I really enjoyed it. I had loads of fun. Now I've got a few wins on there.
Oh, mate, I'll tell you what, Verdansk Warzone saved my lockdown, man. Like just socially.
It's a social thing. I think that's the main thing that it gets all this sort of hype, like, you're nerdy gamers, but I'm the same. Like, the only people I talk to, and I was in lockdown for 2 months in London on my own in my flat. Yeah. The only people I talked to was the guy in my local shop once a week, and then my mates online playing games with each other.
It's exactly the same as me. I was in my flat in London on lockdown on mine as well.
Perfect timing for them as a game release. I
know.
I don't.
You know James, don't you? My mate James.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So me and Jim were just playing Warzone all lockdown really.
I'll have to get a few games then.
Oh yeah, we'll have to do little trios. Me and Jim got a win the other 2 nights ago actually in a quad, which was it was so good. But it's just the buzz on headset after. But I've spoke to some of my mates in lockdown. I've not spoke to half as much in the last 2 years. I've spoke to more of them in 2 months than I have in the last 2 years. So like you said, people go, "Oh, Call of Duty, you're a fucking geek, you're a weirdo." Blah, blah, blah.
It's one of the biggest games in the world. And I think also you're looking at. I just saw Slash's tweet earlier. He's an esports journalist because I'm quite into the esports side, so I watch professional Call of Duty a lot. And I know the things like it's not just that game, obviously, but he was talking about the link between music and gaming is becoming really, really close. You're looking at Ninja, for example, did that album with Astralworks a couple of years ago. Dr. Disrespect he's got all his music links. He's very much like synthwave. Logic, that rapper, has just quit music and he's going to be full-time streaming on Twitch, just playing games because he wants to. He doesn't want to do rapping anymore. He was like, I'm a gamer. I've always been a gamer.
Yeah, fucks, man.
And I think, like, if you think about it, all the musicians, like producers and stuff, and artists even, a lot of them are introverted, a lot of them are geeky, and there's a link there. And it's become sort of like this different thing now. And I think and that's what I mean. I'm talking about these links between music and food, and then there's a massive one between music and gaming. Music and games has always been a huge thing. And especially in lockdown, I've seen loads of musicians just start streaming, playing Warzone or whatever. Like, and I should have done it. And I tried to a little bit. I did a couple, and they were just bad. Like, not entertaining to see. Like, it's just sort of on my own, just having a laugh. But I really had plans for a long time to try and start doing something like that, and doing sort of some food content, doing some music content, getting like DJs round and playing some really weird games together. You know, and then just having a chat and having a laugh and chatting with people that are in there as well. And that was all going to be a sort of live thing. So they'd come around to my flat and sit next to me, and it'd basically sort of be like a show, but we'd play like stupid. I found this one that's like a KFC dating simulator, a Japanese one. So basically you have to date Colonel Sanders, but it's like a sexy Colonel Sanders, and you have to like support him through his running his chicken empire. And it's like a simulator that you can, all these like different outcomes. And I thought that'd be amazing, man, for like an hour on stream with someone like next to us, just having a laugh at how stupid it is. So yeah, I know, it's exactly. It's amazing. I've already bought it. I've not played it yet. But yeah, I think this is amazing. I think that's what maybe the positive of this situation has been, is that it's changed people's perspectives a little bit. So it's taken everyone back and gone, oh, look, people can do this and people can do that. And it's been amazing for the streaming community, because everyone's been at home and watching a lot more content online. And you see how many people have moved to playing games, and how many people exactly play games. And
let's move back onto the last bit of the footy chat.
Of course.
I want to do a little thing with you. I've done this with a couple of my guests, and I've not done it with a United fan yet. I want to ask you, right? So you're in Power League. You're going Power League or five-a-side footy.
That's the five-a-side ones. Yeah, I've done a few of these.
And you're the manager, right? You're gaffer for this Power League.
Let me get notes up, because I'm gonna type this out. I'm taking this seriously, man.
Yeah, get on it. It's like an in-house fantasy Premier League, but five-a-side.
Yeah.
So you're manager. You're taking a all-time Man United five-a-side team to this tournament. They have to have played in your lifetime, so I don't want any George Bests or Robbie Charltons or anything. Yeah. So from 1989 all the way up until now, whatever formation you want to do, but 4 outfield players.
4 outfield players.
So let's go. Let's start keeper.
Start with the keeper. It's going to have to be Schmeichel, isn't it?
Yeah,
it has to be Schmeichel. And it's a sort of a show. And to be honest, if De Gea probably hadn't done that on Sunday, I might have made a case for him, because it's difficult, isn't it? But yeah, it has to be Schmeichel. I mean, that's iconic.
Yeah. In one of them little Power League goals as well, you wouldn't get him in him.
No, you wouldn't for chance. Not. I mean, if he was in his prime age, I mean, maybe now he would struggle to get down a bit.
Yeah.
And it's sort of going. If you need 2 defenders in you can do any. I don't think you need 2 defenders in.
So you're going just one at the back.
Yeah, I'm thinking one at the back.
That is tough, narrowing that down.
Yeah, but then I'm now picking between Rio and Vidic, that's tough, isn't it? I'll stick with 2, and I'm going to have to go with those 2, because, again, my lifetime in terms of defensive combinations was just epic. I think Vidic should just do it on his own. He'd be a lunatic on a 5-a-side pitch. He'd just be flying headbutting people. Let me think forward actually a little bit, because I might just go with Vidic at the back.
All right,
just on his own, just being a nut job.
I think he can take that. He can take that.
You think of those goals, right? And I've played so much 5-a-side. If someone's shooting, someone gets wide and shoots, he'd just fly it, block it with his face. Be straight down. Yeah. I wonder.
Didn't he have that song where it was like, Nemanja, oh, he comes from
Serbia. He'll murder you.
Yeah. That's literally what I do at Power League.
Yeah. He is an absolute lunatic. All the people were rattling the cage, weren't they, like singing it. And then sort of like, this is difficult now, because there's so many options, and I don't want to be too like the sort of classic United fan that picks the glory days. So in midfield, it is difficult. But I'm thinking of the modern game and how
Yeah,
people
you've also got to
play.
think on that pitch, that little power league pitch.
Because I'd love to say Scholes, but he
Mm.
can't tackle. And, well, he couldn't tackle. That was always the joke, wasn't it? But he obviously could. And he's a brilliant player. But what he was good for was the long passes
Yeah,
and distributing the play, much like Carrick was.
and the
And
35-yard
there's no point
volleys.
over that. I can't move past having Pogba and Bruno in there because I think those two would just, their interplay would be amazing. And then I couldn't move past having someone newer up top. But then you've got Ronaldo. Oh, this is hard, man. This is really hard. I'm going to say Pogba and Ronaldo in midfield
Nice.
because Ronaldo was technically a midfielder for us. He's not anymore. Well, not really. And that's just iconic, isn't it? Those two should have played, probably would have played together at some point if it's worked out differently. It's going to have to be Rooney. And because you can pick all these iconic players, but I think in my lifetime, the goals that I remember being at my mate's flat watching the goal he did, the overhead kick, and it was two of us were United fans, two were City fans, and obviously it was quite tense. We were all mates, and it wasn't that we were stood on opposite sides of the room. And I remember cans of Stella flying everywhere. I couldn't believe that goal.
It was unbelievable, wasn't it?
And yeah, he's our best striker, he's best scorer ever until Mason takes over him in 10 years.
Do you reckon?
No, I mean you never know.
To be fair.
He probably could. He's got the potential, but I mean that's such a big ask. It's not something it's clickbait, isn't it? I think for these YouTubers and United accounts, it's to get fans like disagreeing with him because it's all about that. It's what Sky do a lot. It's what every football account does. You post a controversial statement to get the fans riled up and angry and going, no, come on.
How old is Greenwood?
18. Only just turned 18 as well.
I'd be really interested to know how many goals Rooney scored at this age.
He scored more.
Did he?
Yeah, because he was banging him in at 17 for Everton.
Yeah, true. I mean, for United.
For United, I think I'm. No, it's not far off, but I'm fairly sure. Greenwood's in the top sort of 7 for like most goals at his sort of age. I think he's only behind like Rooney, Owen, and Fowler maybe.
It's just scary to think an 18-year-old can do that at Old Trafford in that environment on that big stage. To think that what I was doing when I was 18.
Yeah.
To think Greenwood's just like taking people for a ride.
I was probably better at football when I was 18 than I am now.
Oh yeah,
I wasn't doing much in that regard. But yeah, I mean, like just you have to go with Rooney, man. He's and also I've really enjoyed I've followed his career afterwards. I think that's what you do with club legends, and I'm really happy he's doing bits at Derby. And it was amazing to see him play against us, even though.
Yeah, what a moment!
And he nearly scored that free kick that dips into the corner, and Romero got across. And I sort of wanted it to go in because I reckon that. Because that was before lockdown, wasn't it? I reckon we would have celebrated that, our fans. Because
you got to. I think
it would have been a moment. It would have been
100%.
a moment, and it would have been a storyline. But Romero, he's not bad in that, is he?
So if you got a call tomorrow from Steven Spielberg and he said, "Look, Ben, I need you to get your acting shoes on. I don't care if you've got no experience. you're coming to LA with me in the morning, and I want you to play blank." In a biopic of their life, any footballer, past or present, you can chuck casting out the window, so you don't have to look like them. Just in terms of like a script and a storyline that you'd want to play in a biopic of their life, who would you play and why?
That is such a hard. And I'm thinking obviously because there's been a few biopics of footballers recently, haven't there?
Mm.
That's so difficult. It might have to be Cantona, and I'm gonna try and stick with someone from United because obviously or someone closer.
Yeah,
I think obviously with the controversy, the interviews, I'd love to do that. That'd be amazing. He's someone I remember hearing. I don't know if you've heard this podcast that James O'Brien did with him. And James O'Brien's not a United fan, but he said it's one of the he's done like celebrity coverage for the most of his career, and he said it's one of the like most starstruck he's ever been in his life.
Really?
Meeting this man. He said he just has this charisma about him he did this little wind down after the podcast where he talked about it, and he just said it made you feel almost uncomfortable, like you were in presence of someone that was just something else. And obviously he's one of those players at the time that hated by other fans but adored by your own, like most of the truly iconic players are. And I think obviously, and he's just such an interesting man. He's gone into theatre now, so I think you could have a proper story there. And he's one of those rare occurrences. And I think the only time since that when you have a signing that changes the whole dynamic. And I think Phil Neville was speaking about this before the game started on Sunday, if I remember rightly. He was talking about the impact that Cantona had when he came to the club. He made everyone just feel better, inspired everyone, and just had this ability and made everyone go, "Oh my God, this is big." And I think you turn to players, you think of people that can do that to a football club, and you're thinking maybe Thierry Henry, you're thinking Ronaldo, but he was just a kid at the time, really unproven. But he obviously first season he still impressed. Rooney, for example, again very young, but coming at an age where you're a bit older and you've got this sort of charisma and wisdom. You think of Ibrahimovic when he comes into a team. I think that would be very interesting as a dynamic, as a story to document.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that on film.
I love that though. Ben Pearce playing Eric Cantona in a film. Potentially, we could see that. Stranger things have happened.
Stranger things have happened. 2020 might be weird. Might get the call tomorrow, or whenever this goes out. Be amazing. He's probably one of the. I don't get starstruck that much, but Alex Ferguson, being in the same room as him, I didn't meet him. He was just at the same restaurant. When I realised he was at the next table to me, but I think Cantona would be there. And I think Patrice Evra as well. I think I'd love to meet him. I think
what a ledge.
What a man. And I think these people just have, and it's when it. I think because a lot of footballers have this sort of, they don't have much of a personality because they get the media training. They're very reserved and quiet and just stick to their own thing. When you do have a standout personality, it either goes negative in the way that Pogba gets loads of shit for having mad hair, just annoys people like Graham Souness, or you get people that, like Zlatan, for example, who are just completely iconic because they're just so different than the majority of footballers. You just go, we've had a good game, and he's like saying all this mad stuff. And Cantona was the same. I remember that interview after the incident when he said, what was he saying about when the seagulls follow the trawler?
When the seagulls follow the trawler, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea.
Yeah. And I'm not going to give you anything. And it's just there's no one else in the world that would have said that. And it was truly a moment. Yeah, so I think that'd be good.
He says you can change your wife, your politics, your religion, but never, never can you change your favourite football team.
That is very true. Unless you're David Cameron, then you forget.
What a way to end.
Oh, yeah. And end on a sharp one-liner.
Ben, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for jumping on the pod.
My pleasure, man. No problem.